Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. You already know what it is. It's Plotting Progress Podcast, episode 15. That's episode 15. We in here again with the squad. We got Brother Bilal, Brother Kylon, and a very special guest all the way out in the motherland, man. We're going international.
We're going global.
We're going global. But we got a very special guest who has a lot of jewels, a lot of insight, and a lot of game for us. Just knowledge from what I've seen and from what Brother Bilal spoke very, very highly of you. We got the sister Oluremi Sano. Peace and blessings. Thank you for taking the time out. I know it's late there on the other side of the globe, and thank you for being a part of the podcast with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So before we always got to break the ice. We do like some conscious, positive hip hop bars, and we play the guessing game if somebody could guess it. Y'all probably gonna know this one though. It's not.
Shoot.
I hit us with one of the last. It was he came with some underground shit. This ain't underground though. Let me finish the lyric before y'all blurt it out, though. Everybody should know. Everybody should know. At least in my opinion, everybody should know. So it goes, if the game shakes me or breaks me, I hope it makes me a better man. Take a better stand. Put money in my mom's hand. Give my daughter this college plan so she don't need no man. Stay far from timid. Only make moves if your heart's in it. And live the phrase, sky's the limit.
Biggie. Biggie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Biggie. I came away with the sky's the limit, huh?
Yeah.
I started not to say that part.
Yeah, that's my favorite Biggie song right there.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's one of the only ones I really have listened to on demand. You know what I mean? I'll go and play that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I knew y'all was gonna guess that one.
That's funny because I was gonna do a Tupac one. They both was gonna be easy.
Yeah, it'd be easy. We always do Tupac. He got a lot of revolutionary raps.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But
all right, we can go ahead and kick it off. Jump right into it. Oluremi, we would like to just do an introduction first and foremost. Give you an opportunity to explain to our guests who you are and kind of like what you do. So the floor is on you.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Oluremi Sano. I help people turn their passion and purpose into a viable nonprofit organization, keyword viable, and or a for-profit social impact enterprise, meaning that if they have a business and they are doing something good for the community and making an impact with it, then I work with those type of clients also. So I work on both sides, for-profit and nonprofit, helping people understand how to develop and grow their businesses and how to get fully funded. I'm also a grant writer for over 30 years. So I write grants for each of my clients, and I also show them how to write grants and how to get grant ready. So currently I have over 150 clients in the U.S. I do all my work from Senegal. I come home maybe 4 or 5 times a year, sometimes 6 or 7. I don't limit myself. I just come when I have an event or if I have something to do, or if my son is, has something to do. My son is currently a college student at FAMU, the great HBCU in Florida. And, that's what I do. I actually have a global business. So when you say global and we're going global, this is the push that I'm making with all of my nonprofit entities that I coach, is to have global outreach, specifically in West Africa or Africa. And that is because we have a lot of things that we can do here in the motherland, just like we do at home. When I saw you all and looked at the land that you just purchased, we have land on both sides of the water that we have, options for. And so I'm living in Wakanda right now.
That's dope.
Nice.
Yeah. And then let me just say this, with Biggie and Tupac, right now we're actually living real history of understanding a lot of the historical continuum of what happened to these guys. And we still don't know. It's probably going to become clear in the next few weeks with all the stuff that's going on right now. And it's unfortunate that that their lives were cut short before they were like 30 years old, like literally 20 something years old before they were able to realize much of any of that. And we starting to look at the older generation of hip hop really starting to make sense out of like, what do I do as an older person? We're not just out here swimming in the wild trying to make things, come to clear understanding through our lyrics. We have to live this stuff. We actually have to live these lives. And so for me, listening to that, I was like, wow, you know what? It's unfortunate that they weren't able to really live out the dreams that they had in their lyrics. Same thing with Nipsey. And Nipsey is a good rapper too. So I'm like, all the stuff that he was doing, the hopes and dreams, we have to find a way to get people out of this mode of, kill or be killed. And the other thing, last thing, is that the narrative that they're talking about in regard to Africa is false. It's totally false. You have things, remnants left over from oppression and left over from, the destruction right here on the continent. But people over here are not over here shooting and killing each other. Most people don't carry guns in Africa. The military does. So the stuff that we see on TV, like war zones and all that, is just totally false. It's like Africa is so massive, you would not even be able to understand how much land is over here and how free we are over here. Talking about sovereignty is something that we can definitely see and live in our lifetime. We should be able to see it on both coasts, but here for sure you can see sovereignty. So I just wanted to say that we got a lot of cleaning up to do, because we grew up in hip hop, but we got to start making hip hop, like people need to be wearing land deeds around their neck instead of those big fat chains. They need to be,
That'd be dope.
you know what I mean? They need to have all kind of real estate deeds and land deeds and all that stuff on their neck. And then that's when I'll be getting up, clapping hands and stuff like that. But they cannot be doing these arbitrary beefs and all the stuff that they doing now. Like, why conjure up a beef? Why? I love hip hop, but why? Because we're gonna just end up throwing down about something arbitrary,
Right.
So yeah, that's my take on it, y'all.
Very valid point. So I have
Yeah.
a question, if I may. You spoke about global outreach. Considering that, I presume that you incorporated your entity in the States, and then
Yes.
you've gone abroad. As far as global outreach on the continent, where does that start? Do they have an equivalent of like the Chamber of Commerce, or is there some type of I don't know, conglomerate that you can kind of tap into to kind of, begin that networking effort? How did you go about that particular effort as far as global
That's a
outreach?
good question, because it happens differently in different countries here in Africa. I happen to know and have some friends who are growing in Ghana. So one of my friends from DC has been in Ghana for like 7 or 8 years. He has built a community center, a library, a school, a 14-bedroom home. He's now part of the Minister of Tourism's office over there. I mean, and he and my history is I grew up after school. I went to school at Grambling State University, the Grambling State University. Then I went to Ohio State. After that, I was at Temple working on a PhD. I stopped working on a PhD and started working for myself at 26 years old. And so I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. When I came here, it was after a long career in dance. So I was a dance instructor and owned dance studios all over the United States. And then I decided to stop that in 2017, came to Guinea, West Africa first in 2018. And that was through my connections through dance. So I taught African dance, I taught other forms of dance, but my connection to dance, through my connections in dance, I knew people for over 25 years in Guinea. I knew people for over 25 years in Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, everywhere. And so I went to Guinea first, and I worked with the artists there. And for me, basically, I just got my business license like a regular person would go get a business license. I didn't get in touch with any chambers or anything like that, but I also had an entry into the arts. So for me, I have a lot of people, like I know a lot of people that are in the top national companies, dance companies in West Africa. So I was working with the artists. That was my entryway. I know for Diallo, my friend Diallo Sumbri, who you all can look him up. He's actually one of the people that came up with the concept of the year of return. I don't know if y'all heard about that in Ghana, the year of return. And then all the countries around started adopting that because that was 400 years out from us having, in 2019, it was 400 years out from us having been brought to, the continent. So they had this big year of return, and that brought in about $2.5 billion to Ghana, to the country, right? His entryway was the same. He actually had a dance studio in Washington, D.C. I knew him from years and years ago, 25, 30 years through dance and music. So his dance company, from there, he went over to Ghana, dealing with the arts, dealing with traditional spirituality and things like that. And he became, a citizen there. And then he just got in with the Minister of Tourism and started working with different groups. So there's not really they have chambers and stuff like that here. We have a big chamber hall down here in Senegal and downtown, but I'm not involved with the chamber. I'm an independent business owner. I do my work with people who are looking to start their nonprofits in different ways. So I have 4 clients in Ghana. I have clients that I'm starting here in Senegal, and most of those people either have something to do with the arts or have something to do with business. The ones in Ghana, 2 of them are influencers. They were already YouTube influencers. They just didn't know how to get started with their nonprofit. So we've linked now these groups in Africa to groups in the United States, and people are working together on programming. And then year after year, every December, I bring a group over from the United States. So I also have a travel and tourism business that I bring groups over. So I do both for-profit and nonprofit. And it's really not difficult. Getting your business license in Africa is just about the same as getting your business license in America.
Awesome. Awesome. So in short, you have leveraged the power of relationship building, right?
Basically. Yep.
Awesome.
The relationships are everything. So Senegal, I didn't know as many people, although I know a lot of people in Senegal through the arts, but I came here. I do all my work online. So I'm actually meeting with clients every single day online and on Zoom. But here I've actually managed to make a lot of relationships because we are teaching through the historical parts of these countries, like Goree Island being one of the largest slave ports of people that came to United States and to the Caribbean. So I go to Goree. I work a lot with the historians on Goree Island, and I bring people over, and we teach through those, historical points like Goree Island. And people who have nonprofits, whether it's land related, whether it's cultural arts related, whether it's history related, whatever it is, they can have an established global outreach by connecting people to the motherland first through family history, like genealogy, basically, like getting to know these different places, getting to know where you're from. No matter where you're from on the continent, you should know at least your matrilineal and patrilineal line, So we're getting people to open up to that through different ways, making connections through land. When we do trips, we don't just do trips like, hey, come see the travel and tourism spots here. We actually introduce them to bankers. We introduce them to people who are where, if they want to purchase land, they can do that. We introduce them to, if they would like to buy a home or build a home here, they can do that. So they have a large experience. It's not just coming over here to hang out and listen to music and all that,
Mm-hmm. So I know you mentioned that at the beginning of your introduction that you help businesses, you help them push forward in whatever direction that they're moving in. Specifically for landowners, do you have any clients that you work with currently now that are landowners? And if you do, what are some of the options that you have or have worked on for landowners?
Yeah, I do have clients that are landowners. I have one lady down in Coolidge, Texas, which is one of the it's small. It's a small town between Dallas and Houston. It's closer to Houston though. So her family has 120 acres. It's actually her husband's family. 120 acres that was passed down to his family. They have an amazing history. They have a book that they wrote on the family lineage. And so we are. She came to me through a domestic violence nonprofit that she had. but we are now moving to some other strands and pillars of service because they have so much history that I didn't know until, starting to work with them. So now we're looking at this land piece and getting some grants for her husband's land so that they can do things right there on the land. And they have so much of it. They have livestock and all that, but then they have other pieces that they really didn't know what they wanted to do. She didn't want a facility in terms of like having a domestic violence facility or anything like that. But what she can do, because she chooses not to work in a facility or have a facility, is use the land to teach people, use the land for things like women who are coming through transition and needing to find some sort of peace, working on the land, learning how to do community gardens, those type of things. And so what we do is we find grants for those type of opportunities. And I work with organizations that fund community grants. I work with organizations that fund different things in terms of whatever they're trying to build or do on the land. So that's one example. Another example, we have four families that I work with. I work with all four of them on their different business entities. All of them have, three of them have nonprofits. One of them has a for-profit. So one is strictly, he's building just strictly farms and that type of thing. The other one is building elderberry trees, and they have an actual historical site on their land. So this is all of them are husband and wife teams. Those are down in Cypress, Texas. So what we do is we're not only hooking up information and for them to be able to get funded for the different projects that they have, but we have a lot of land issues in Texas. That's where I'm from. So in Texas, we want Black families to be able to keep their land. So legislation around land and those type of things, we actually hook them up with organizations that can help them with like civics education and them teaching people not only when you get your land, how to keep your land and how to not have people encroach on it or have roads start coming through it all of a sudden. You just start building on your land and now they want to build a road or something like that right through it. We've seen that historically in America. So a lot of the money that we have coming through is coming through organizations that can help teach them about legislation too, not just the things that they need on the land. But those are two small examples. Let me tell you about one more. One more is in Midlothian, Texas, right outside of Dallas. And these brothers have a $23 million project. They are building what's called agri-hood. So they are builders. They have farms, but they also are building affordable housing, and the affordable housing has very intentional design. So everything about the neighborhoods are for people who want to live in farming communities and learn how to grow their own food. The landscaping is edible landscaping. So in the design, everything in there they can eat or it's medicinal, stuff like that. So that's another project that I'm working with. And yeah, they're doing well on both sides, for profit and nonprofit.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I had a question. You say you were originally from Texas. Being that you experienced the whole HBCU, you experienced the entrepreneurship. What prompted the move to Africa? Was it the knowledge of self type vibe, or was it just mainly I just want to return to the essence? What prompted that move, and what was that transition like?
That's a good question. So the thing is, when I was married to my son's dad, he's actually a professor at FAMU. We were young back then. That was like in our 20s, 28, something like that. We kept saying we were going to move to Africa. A long time ago, when I was teaching dance full time, I wanted to move to Ghana. I was like, I'm gonna go to the University of Legon and get a PhD in traditional dance. We never moved anywhere. We didn't do anything. It was like pipe dreams, but we never did it. So the thing is, year after year, as my son was growing up, I only have one child, but as he was growing up, every year is like, dang, every year I keep saying I'm going to Africa and I never make it to Africa, And we have these thoughts about what Africa is and these fantasies. My PhD, I changed it from higher education administration to African studies when I was at Temple. And then we had all these theories and ideas about Africa, but then I had never been. And I kept saying year after year, what is the problem? As a business owner, a lot of times you can't just leave your business, So for me, because I was a brick and mortar business owner for so long, it wasn't easy for me to just like, oh, I'm about to go to Africa. But after I closed my business down, one day I literally pulled over the side of the road and bought a ticket to Africa. And I was like, I'm out. I'm about to go to Africa. I'm at least going to see what it's like. And once I got here and started being like, wow, this is so totally different than it. First of all, it's the best feeling in the world to not be in a minority into everything you see, banks, housing, everything, construction, everything is done by us over here, right? We do have people like Lebanese, Chinese, Indian. We have people over here doing business also, but the vast majority, the very first time I experienced New Year's Eve in Africa, I was like, oh my God, it's like a billion Black people outside at the same time. I was like, whoa, so I mean, just what brought me to Africa to live was just the feeling of freedom. I don't know if y'all saw that interview that Steve Harvey did with Rashad and Troy, the guys from EYL, but Steve Harvey was talking about the feeling that you feel here when you are just the feeling of freedom that you feel here. It's totally different. It's like we can walk around and be ourselves. We're not trying to convince other people. Everybody is Black on the money. You know what I mean? The money, we're not over here trying to vote money into to having Black faces. It just is. It's so totally different. Are there challenges? Yes, but the feeling of total freedom and sovereignty is what made me move here. Sovereignty, like total sovereignty, because I kept saying year after year too that I was going to buy some land in America, and it's not as easy to just buy some land in America. You know what I mean? You all have done it, and I commend you. I just saw you all one day on a page, and I was like, this is amazing, because I'm on a lot of the off the grid pages, and being off the grid here is one of my life goals. I absolutely want to, once I power up all these organizations, which I've done a great job at since COVID, I absolutely want to be off the grid in Africa, because that freedom and feeling, just like what do you call it? Oh my God, Bob Marley's wife. What's her name? Bob Marley's wife. Rita, Mama Rita, Mama Rita Marley. So she's
Rita Marley.
in Ghana. She's in Ghana. I mean, they've been there. The fantasy, from fantasy to reality, is totally different. So if you listen to the story and history of Bob Marley and the things that they were doing at such young ages in their 20s, he passed away early too, but she's literally living what they were talking about doing when they were in their 20s, and she's doing it in Ghana in the mountains, So and the life and the vibrancy of her skin and the energy that you can maintain here, because you're not always under duress. You're not walking around with 3 and 4 layers of trauma every day. Like if something might happen, I still kind of cringe when like my son called me one day and he was getting pulled over by the police. Like, tell him your mom is on the phone right now. Tell him your mom is on the phone. I mean, all that stuff that we have to deal with in America, you don't feel the strain of that while you're here. So it was a long answer, but that's, the feeling is probably what made me stay.
It's a mental and spiritual strain here. I agree. So there, I could imagine that you gave that's a great answer. I could imagine the feeling of the freedom and the camaraderie and solidarity that you see with everybody else there as well. What's the land purchasing like there? Is it a big thing? Is a lot of people purchasing land out there, or is Africa still kind of getting colonized in that way, or is it?
Nah, because these new African presidents ain't playing with these folks. The new African presidents are not playing. I don't know if y'all follow them or not, but these young guys are not playing. They are making sure that people know and understand that this is not a game, and this is Africa for Africans. And so, yeah, people are here and they have businesses. People who are non-African, they have businesses and things like that. But land, number one, is vast and available. They have various types of land. Like people are flocking to Ghana is very cliche right now. I love Ghana too, but I'm not in Ghana. I don't want to be in Ghana permanently. A lot of people are going to Ghana, and Ghana has some patterns of people like reselling land. You get the land and you realize that somebody sold it twice or 3 times already. That's not everywhere, because a lot of people are going there and building. I have a friend who just finished her house in Ghana. It's beautiful. She has enough land that if her sisters and brothers and other family members wanted to come over and build on the same land, they can. Her house is already totally done, so she has enough room for farm and house and family to come over and build. So you can find that anywhere in any African country, because the land is just massive, and they don't over developed land out here. Like in America, you can in some states you can't find that much open land. Here land is massive, and a lot of times it's very inexpensive. Here in Senegal, the plot of land that I bought was very inexpensive. Like I paid $5,000 for some land. Where you do that at in America?
Right.
So 5,000 USD. And I already knew the person, so I knew that he had the deed for the land and the plot and the numbers and stuff. It wasn't, being resold or anything like that here in Senegal. So,
how many acres do you have there?
They call it it's different, but it's probably like about 2 or 3 acres. That's not bad.
But that's not bad at all. That's great, actually.
Yeah.
Senegal is where that
the statue.
If I'm not, the statue is there, right?
Yeah, it's right up the street from my house. So it's the Renaissance Monument. That is first of all, it's the largest structure in Africa, and it is one of the best symbols in regard to Black family everywhere. And actually, it was constructed for the Black family everywhere. It wasn't just for Senegal. It was a symbol for Black men, women, and children to come together and stay together. And that was a symbol that they built to inspire everybody around the globe.
Wow.
I ride my bike up there all the time.
when I first started seeing that, I didn't even think it was real. I was like, man, that
it's real.
It looks amazing. So considering like doing business abroad for Black Americans, the ignorant Black Americans, and I say that not to emphasize the negative connotation of the word ignorant, but simply a lot of us don't know because we're not exposed, right? We're underexposed to that experience. For those that are interested in doing business abroad, what words of advice, or if you have like a couple of bullet points of things that those individuals could do to prepare themselves for that particular journey? I'm just wondering, are there any like shifts in perspectives that you've had to do, and just things to consider? Because I feel like we're conditioned in such a way to where we're kind of entitled to certain things
Most
in
definitely.
this particular landscape. What if you can give, like, I don't know, 2 to 3 things as far as like advising those individuals, hey, this is what you need to consider. These are things you can do to kind of prepare for that.
So number one is we have to be patient. You got to pack your patience. And people, when they come on my trip, they hear me say that a lot, pack your patience, because we do look at things different. People are excited to come to Africa, but they don't know if they've never been to Africa before, then they don't have the concept of time. We don't have the same concept of time over here, right? They say CP time there, but it's really CP time here. And you just have to be okay with that, because people don't move the same way. And it's okay. Like, nobody's on the same constraints for time that they are in America. So sometimes things move slower. They're not moving as fast, and you can't make them, you know what I mean? Because you're from America and you want it to move fast does not mean they're going to do it. And that means airlines and stuff too. So they might not, like in the airlines in America, which I used to work for Delta and American, if you delay a plane, you would get in trouble. And I mean, I don't care what part, if you on the staff, if you on the flight staff, if whatever, but delays, they take delays very seriously. Here, it's not as serious. I mean, it's like they don't want it to be delayed, but it's not a problem. It's not a hang up if it's delayed. So time in general, dealing with things and time, sometimes processing things. Like, it took me for my nonprofit in Guinea, it took me a long time to get the thing notarized. I mean, it was like, and they were like, come back, they're not finished yet, come back. I mean, it's like a week and a half. I was like, whoa. And and then they don't speak the same language. I lived in 2 francophone countries. So Senegal is francophone and Guinea is francophone, so they speak French mostly. They don't speak English. Some people do speak English, but the majority language is French. And they're like, here is French and Wolof. And then in Guinea is French and Susu or Malinke or whatever people are speaking, so, but the thing is like, you just gotta be patient, and if you're not patient, then you're not going to, you might have some frustrations. The other thing is financially, people need to come. You don't really have to have a lot of money to get started doing business in Africa, because people do business in Africa everywhere on the street. Y'all remember, I'm not sure how old y'all are, but do y'all remember Lenny from Good Times? The one that used to open his coat and have everything hanging off. I mean, people, they have so many street vendors and people selling everything, toothbrushes, mirror, Monopoly game. I mean, it don't matter. Whatever it is literally, you can buy it on the street. So people are used to doing business, and the markets are different. The markets are people who just set up selling what they want, and it's massive. So you go outside and you go downtown, and the market is huge. So business is looked at differently. They have other businesses. They have businesses that are brick and mortar businesses, and ones that are a little bit more elevated. And like, if you want to sell houses or build houses and things like that, they have that here. But even that, you can get things done easier, differently. It's about relationships, and it's about patience and taking your time and finding people who are willing to do the jobs. But people here are a lot more patient. So you might find like, dang, this was easier. So you might come here and think it's much easier to build houses. My friend Ishmael is on his way here from Atlanta. He and his son are building houses in Cadillac. And so, I mean, they don't have a hard time at all. He sent his 20-something-year-old son over here to be apprenticing under someone to start learning how to build houses here in Africa. And so the steps really are, number one, getting yourself to Africa. To me, what I would tell people and say, make a plan to come to Africa, period. Even if you come just by yourself the first time, or just to see what's happening in whatever area, it can be around just somewhere that you always wanted to visit, like the Renaissance Monument. So you come to Senegal, you find out about Senegal, you learn Senegal, and you learn the land, go out and see the land. Don't just stay close to downtown and all that. See what's available, and then go from there. Or some people might have a interest in learning who they are, like through their lineage. They might want to go to that country first. So if you're going to do that, I would suggest African Ancestry, because they're the Black owned company. They don't sell your information. They trace your matrilineal and patrilineal lines, and then you can find out where you come from, and then maybe go visit that country first. But
Are you extending the olive branch to Senegal?
oh, I always extend the olive branch to Senegal. I have 100 people coming this year. Normally I have 35. This year is going to be bigger because I opened it up to Grambling. We call it Grand Fam. So we have a lot of Grand Fam coming over this year. I'm working directly with the CEO of um, Air Senegal, on some things, and making sure that our group has, top quality service in regard to the flights and stuff, and getting off and all that. So yeah, it's my trips are always open. We do it December 26th through January 5th every year, because that's the time where most people have off, and we try to get people to come where they can have at least 10 days. So it's a 10-day trip. And then we also like for people to experience New Year in Africa. It's amazing. It's just like, it's hard to tell people. I think the closest thing I've ever seen in North America was Caribana, and that's in Canada, because there's like tons of Black people, Africans, Caribbean, everybody that go to Canada every year for Caribana. But here is swarms and swarms and millions of Black people at one time outside. And Senegal is warm all year. That's the other thing. 85 degrees every day, all year. We don't have winter. This is why I love being here.
Nice.
Some people wouldn't like that, but for me, it's amazing. I live right by the water, and if it were earlier, I would turn my camera around for you all and look right outside my front window, and it's the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
Wow, that's dope.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Can we
sit
can
here
we
and
go
write
into
grants all day from the by the Atlantic.
That's dope. Can we go a little bit more into depth as far as like how you help people, landowners, with the grants?
Yes. So what I do is I help people understand how the power of nonprofits. If you have a nonprofit, how to use that, especially if you're doing something where you can teach people and build on your land. So if there's something you can do, no matter what it is, whether you can teach them about growing food, or if you could teach them about livestock, or if you can teach them about how to get land, how to build houses on land. I mean, whatever it is you can teach them, you can do it through a nonprofit. And nonprofits have access to so much money. There's millions and billions of dollars just laying there. Our community's issues, we've never been taught how to access that money. We don't know the steps. So I do that. I teach people the steps of how to set their infrastructure up properly. I actually help them with their narratives, with the budgets, everything you need, because the budget is most important for grants. The budgets, their articles of incorporation and everything, we put it in a grant packet and we start submitting. But then I teach them which grant portals to plug into and how to plug into those grant portals. And then we go from there, teach them how to keep their, so your service pillars, I have that group of 4 families, all 4 of them have different missions, right? They all have the same land and all their land is connected, but they all have different missions. One is doing his thing is called Hypnotic Farm. So he's going to be doing growing hemp and some other stuff, One of them has a passion for elderberry trees, but elderberry has a lot of medicinal, uses, and that's her passion. Both of her daughters went to HBCUs and in agricultural education, so they also have livestock on their land. So how I teach them is to teach them how to set the infrastructure up so that they're never missing anything that is needed for a grant. Their
Right.
grant packet stays ready. We use it digitally and we use it in hard copy when they're interacting with people. And then we submit a lot of grants and then we show them what to do. So my thing is I do a lot of training on not just the grants, but the development of the business. Like when you get the grant, what do you do with that money to leverage that money? Don't just go use the money and spend it all on the programs or whatever it is. You want to take that money, 25% of it should start to pay yourself immediately, so that when you're paying yourself, people see that you're running that business like a business, even if it's a nonprofit. That therefore you can go get salary grants just a little bit later. You can start applying for salary grants. So 25% goes into your admin operations. 10% should go into an endowment so that that money starts to work for itself. You hook that 10% up with a fund manager and let them start working and investing that money, and the rest goes to your program. So we teach people how to use the money so that that money can start bringing them other money in. So you have leverage. You're not just like, oh my God, I never got a grant before, and then you go spend it all. So that's not
Right.
going to materialize. You're not going to have a sustainable business. So yeah, we do the root of how to get grants and what you do with the grant money when you get it, whether it's 10,000 or 1 million.
Now, one thing I want to touch on is we've had these conversations about like what direction we want to go in as far as our business goes. Right now, we are not a nonprofit. Some of the, I would say, not necessarily negative, but some of the downside that we've heard is that there's just when dealing with on the nonprofit side, there's like a lot of red tape that comes with the funding that doesn't allow you to maneuver in the way that you prefer. But it sounds like you've kind of mastered how to do that. But can you talk a little bit into that about how that's possibly a misconception in our community about nonprofits?
It is because it's a misconception, and we have a trend happening right now. So I'll talk to you about both of those. One is
Okay.
we don't know all the categories of grants. So most people, when they think of grants, they're thinking of government grants, and government grants have a lot of red tape. They have a lot of things they want you to do. They have a lot of prescripts. They have a lot of, postscripts, like what they want you to do. Then you do this. Did you do this? And, people get caught up. They get, frustrated and tired because it feels like a job. Now you done snuffed your passion out. You don't even want to do it anymore because it's too hard to service those grants sometimes. So what I tell people, that the government grants are not the only type of grants. As a matter of fact, if you don't want to be frustrated, don't deal with government grants. Deal with family foundations, deal with other types of corporations that give grants that don't have that lockhold on you and your passion and what you're trying to do. And there are plenty of them out there. Not only that, there are plenty of people who are independent business owners, athletes, business owners that have just tons of money that they need a tax write-off on, that when you establish really good relationships and people believe in what you're doing, you can have people who are regular donors every single year, and you don't have to deal with anybody. You could deal with all private lenders, all private donors, excuse me, and have a nonprofit. You could have a whole family that dumps multi-millions on your project because they believe it so much. They believe in it so much. You know what I mean? And so it just depends on how you leverage yourself and how you leverage your organization. But it is a myth. There are a couple of myths that we believe in. The Black people believe. One, we believe that you have to spend all the money down to zero in a nonprofit, which is not true. You can grow and scale a nonprofit just like you grow and scale a regular business, and you should. You can create a family legacy out of your nonprofit, meaning that it passes down and is willable to your children. And so if you grow it to a multi-million dollars, white people do it all the time, right? They do it all the time. They have nonprofits. Every single major corporation has a nonprofit organization attached to it. We just don't always know that, but they do it for the tax break. Because in a nonprofit, if you have a for-profit and you wanted to start a nonprofit, so you have Bilal, right? You're a for-profit. This is Bilal LLC. This is Bilal Foundation. Bilal LLC makes millions of dollars. And so every year you can put 30% of your own money into this nonprofit, up to 30% of their, if it's a public charity and they're getting grant money, then you can put up to 30% of that organization's budget in from your own money and not have to send your money to the government, right? For the taxes that the government is going to take on that multi-millions. But then that money gets cycled in and you can pay it out to your family. It could be a family organization. So you have your kids and everybody lined up in there getting paid from that same money that would have been taxed and gone to the government, So you can also grow that money. And if you are working as the executive administrator of your nonprofit, then you can also cycle your money, keep some of your money and either put it into passion projects, or you can pay yourself out legitimately as an executive administrator of your own organization if you're doing the work. So there are a lot of things. The only thing that can't happen is you cannot commingle these funds with these funds. They have two totally different tax structures. But
Right.
we just don't know enough about it. So I started teaching this when people were sitting down during COVID because they were more open to hearing stuff, and it took off. I mean, we had just so many people who were interested in learning how to do grants and, getting some grants for their passion projects and whatnot. So yeah, there's millions and billions of dollars. Let me tell you about a couple right now. Chase Bank has a thing called Pathways Forward for Black Americans. $30 billion, 30 would it be, $1 billion on the table for nonprofits, Black run and Black owned nonprofits and for-profit businesses. So both of them you can get grants for. You can get grants for-profit businesses too. But Chase Bank right now has $42 million set aside for people who want to build affordable housing, however that looks. It could be mini homes, it could be homes for veterans, it could be homes for Black people in new communities and rural communities, it could be whatever. Now we have to go in there and we have to have a business plan that says something that's structured so we can go get that money and do what we want. If that's on your land, on your private land, whatever you want to do. I mean, they have a pot of money that they dedicated right now specifically to Black businesses and Black nonprofits. Now it's up to us to make them, put their money where their mouth is. So I just had Chase Bank, Lift Fund, and some other people at my conference that I do every year. This year in March, we had them out to talk about that program. But it's the money is endless. If you think about athletes, rappers, and all of those people have millions of dollars that they need to do something with, right? And a lot of times, if you make connections with people, you'll see that, hey, they're not scared to give their money away. They just want to see what it looks like when they give it away. So if you have your budget already in your packet and you can say, I need $500,000. Well, where's that $500,000 going to? Here's my budget. Here's my capital campaign right here. So we have that. I supply that in every single grant packet. They have a regular annual budget and they have a capital campaign to show to people. And the third thing they have is donor levels, structured donor levels. So if that same millionaire wants to give to your organization every year for their tax write-off, they can. You see? It's just about learning the relationships and learning how to use what you already have. Basically, for landowners, you all have a lot that you can do on that land. You can build structures. You can build. I've seen nonprofits, multi-million-dollar nonprofits that have they create produce where they can start sending that produce locally to people, to areas that may not have had access to fresh produce before. There's a young girl in North Carolina doing that through a nonprofit. Her nonprofit is multi-million-dollars already. I mean, so you can grow a nonprofit like you can a for-profit. The way you get paid through that is through a salary. You just cannot personally pocket all the money from a nonprofit, but you can grow your salary out to be a very significant salary. And I think that's something we don't know a lot about either, because people that the late Susan G. Komen, the pink cancer people, their CFO makes $500,000 a year. That's $500,000 a year working in a nonprofit. So you can grow your nonprofit all the way up and pay those types of salaries out when you know how to do it, just like you can a for-profit.
Wow.
That's very enlightening.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that information. That is, yeah, that is profound.
That means our conversation is going to go a little bit further in regards to the nonprofit option.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Y'all ever heard of Hershey, like Hershey Foundation and Hershey, yeah. So they built a whole, with their foundation, they built a whole, you have Lowe's Foundation, Home Depot Foundation, Hershey Foundation, Walmart Corporation Foundation. I mean, it's all of them have a foundation, right? And so the thing is, the ones who learn about nonprofits and how to set that up, they know that they're protecting their money through their foundation. Now, and the difference is you have private foundation and public foundation. A public nonprofit, a public charitable nonprofit, you have the ability to get and solicit grants from anywhere, everywhere, right? A private foundation, you cannot get grants from anywhere, everywhere. But if you had somebody significant putting money into your private foundation, then it wouldn't matter as much for you to get government grants or public charitable grants, So you have two different types of nonprofits that you can start. And those businesses usually set up private foundations because they want to protect their money and send as much money as possible. A private foundation, you don't have a limit on how much money you can send over. So you have like LeBron James Family Foundation, Chris Paul Family Foundation. I work directly with Chris Paul's Family Foundation. I work literally directly with his foundation because we have a program that he does, and I work with the young boys through that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot to learn. Y'all should consider both. If you have for-profit, make sure you have for-profit and nonprofit, because you can benefit a lot by bringing some real quick money through a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of information. I'm processing it. Yeah, I'm processing it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
We have, if you all look up Black Voters Matter, not Black Lives Matter, but Black Voters Matter. It's a group. They have over $30 million that they have available to Black-run nonprofits. I work directly with them with a lot of my groups because they're set up strictly to expand the Black electorate in the United States. So they want people to learn about voting and civics and all that, but they fund just about any type of nonprofit that's out there. They help a lot with our land projects. They help a lot with the arts projects, with basketball skills project, anything, as long as you can teach people like why, it's important for them to learn about civics and understanding different things. No matter what you do in life in America, you need to learn about civics, because you can have land and you can call it your private land, but if they say something like eminent domain, I mean, then your whole thing is jacked up. You don't even know, people don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? So they just claim eminent domain like they did down in Alabama and other places where they had places called Africa Town, and they just want to run a highway through there, and then the city can come take that land that you and your family have had all that time. That's the difference. In Africa, you're not taking nothing from nobody. Once it's yours, period. That's what you're not going to do. You're not going to run a highway over here. I could be in America working and I could build my house for 30 years and ain't nobody about to touch it, even if it's on half a level and ain't never been finished yet. So that's the difference, you know. In America, if they want to come take it, they can take it because it's written into the laws that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just have to understand those things. So it's a really good thing to have relationships with groups that have money that are specific to Black run organizations, you know, so you could tap in, get some grant money, you know, help a little by letting people know how to vote and where they can go vote and all that. And then always have, you know, a partner on your arm, because that's what they call people. When they fund you, they give you money from that organization, they consider you a partner, you know, because everybody's trying to do something for Black folks in America in their eyes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This conversation could keep going, but I know we you know, a little on the time budget, but we definitely want to work with you and get some insight. I'm pretty sure you and Bilal can link with that as far as setting up some consultations or what that may look like in the near future. We definitely want to do that.
Sure.
Where can the people find you at if they want to build with you, if they want to link with you? You want to get that information out as well, wrapping
Yeah,
up?
it's really easy. My website is sparkandflow.biz. So it's sparkandflow.biz, and they can find me online. I have my contact information on there. If they send any kind of, they have the forms on the website, so they can send in information if they want to learn about the trips, if they want to learn about nonprofits or for-profits, because there are a lot of grants for for-profits too. And you just need to learn to sift through those ones that are going to send you, you know, through a lot of red tape. You don't want to deal with those, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I plan on coming. I always wanted to go to Africa. I keep pushing it back, but I definitely want to come.
Yeah, I just saw Bilal and not Bilal. I have a nephew named Bilal too. I just saw Rashad and Troy in Ghana when the last in December they were there. I think they just bought a house over there too. So it's fun seeing people that you know. I don't know Troy, but I know Rashad. And seeing people that you know in Africa, like, oh hey y'all, you know, just so now it's a regular thing now because a lot of people visit, and you know, whether it's Guinea, Ghana, Africa, South Africa, Liberia, anywhere, you're gonna see people that you know, because people are visiting more often now. But y'all are welcome to come anytime, you know. It's not Senegal. Remember this: you don't need a travel visa to come to Senegal. That's the beauty of Senegal. You don't have to have that extra travel visa, so you don't have to go through that process. You just hop on over from JFK. It's a 6.5 hour flight. So once you get on the flight, which normally leaves around 1 a.m., take a quick nap, wake up, and you're in Africa.
What?
Sound like a plan.
Yeah, man.
So,
Gross spot group trip.
Gross spot
no,
group trip.
for real.
Yeah,
real.
do it.
I had the privilege of going to Ethiopia and Egypt a couple of years ago. But
Nice.
I think one thing we tend to do is we kind of have a singular perception of Africa. We just Africa, like it's just one thing. And like you mentioned earlier, it's a large landmass. So I'm definitely interested in, visiting some of the other countries, and very intrigued with what you shared with us about Senegal. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you
Very
so much for
beneficial
having me. I
information.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Peace and blessings. Get you some rest for that.
I will. Thank you so much. All righty. Have a good one, y'all.
Close it out with
I'll
our
keep
mission
following
statement.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna close it out with our mission statement. At the Growth Spot, we are unified in action to build, protect, and expand a fruitful legacy of love, equity, growth, ancestry, cooperation, and yield.
Nice.
Peace.
All right,
Peace.
y'all. Peace. Have a good one.